the extent of the immeasurable pain Jesus bore for us. Hi, I'm Pally, and thanks for tuning in to the fourth video of our Easter video series, as we follow Jesus as he came to the cross and came out of the tomb, granting eternal salvation for all those who put their trust in him. And so it's particularly important for us, given the current uncertainty which surrounds us at the minute, that we fix our eyes on the certain hope we have in Jesus' victory at the cross. And so our reading today is from John 18 to John 19 verse 6. With feet freshly washed, Jesus and his friends began to eat their evening meal. Then Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, one of you is going to betray me." His disciples stared at one another, at a loss to know which one of them he meant. Jesus told Judas, "What you are about to do, do quickly." But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas had charge of the money, some thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the festival, or to give something to the poor. Judas went out, and it was night. Jesus left with his disciples and crossed the Kidron Valley. On the other side there was a garden, and he and his disciples went into it. Now Judas, who betrayed him, knew this place, because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So Judas came to the garden, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and Pharisees. Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant. But Jesus commanded Peter, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" So the detachment of soldiers with its commander and the Jewish officials arrested Jesus. They bound him and brought him first to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest that year. Then the Jewish leaders took Jesus to the palace of the Roman governor. Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man?" "If he were not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." "But we have no right to execute anyone," they objected. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked, "or did others talk about me? My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders, but now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then?" said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of the truth listens to me." "What is the truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again to the people gathered there and said, "I find no basis for a charge against this man. But it is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of Passover. Do you want me to release the king of the Jews?" They shouted back, "No, not him. Give us Barabbas." Now Barabbas had taken part in an uprising. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. He was bound to a post, stripped and beaten with a whip that had lead balls or pieces of bone attached, which lacerated his skin. Though floggings were sometimes fatal, Jesus survived his. Then the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they slapped him in the face. Once more Pilate came out and said to the Jews gathered there, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for a charge against him." When Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." The Jewish leaders insisted, "We have a law, and according to that law he must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God." Pilate tried to set Jesus free, but the Jewish leaders kept shouting, "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar, the Roman emperor. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar." "Shall I crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the chief priests answered. Finally, Pilate handed him over to be crucified. I think for those of us who have heard the Easter story before, it's very easy to over-familiarise ourselves with it and therefore miss out on some of the detail. But I think when you really focus on what is being said in the passage, I think one of the things that stood out to me anyway was just the extent of the immeasurable pain that Jesus bore for us. And so, as I said there, then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. He was bound to a post, stripped and beaten with a whip that had lead balls or pieces of bone attached, which lacerated his skin. Though floggings were sometimes fatal, Jesus survived his. And obviously, this is only a foretaste of what was to come on the cross. And this can only be described as torture. And I think we can only truly appreciate this sacrifice when we understand that this was all done for us. Jesus endured this for us. Every whip, every beating, the crown of thorns, Jesus endured it all for our salvation. Not because we earned it, certainly not because we deserve it, but because of his great love for us. And so I'd really encourage you to reread this passage and to study it for yourself. And a good way you can do that is using the Swedish Bible study method, where as you read the passage, you highlight a light bulb, which is something that stood out to you in the passage, a question mark, which is something you're unsure of, maybe a question you have about the passage, and then finally an arrow, which is something that you can personally apply to your own life. And yeah, I'd really urge you to use this method. I think it's a great way to engage with the passage and just delve deeper into what God's saying to you through it.